Crew Pros, your single source for high-quality, affordable home services. If you are remodeling, repairing, or replacing, Crew Pros are the professionals that can do the job no matter the size. If you are thinking of remodeling your kitchen or bath, needing a new HVAC system, plumbing repairs, flooring, or a complete roof replacement, call Crew Pros. Crew Pros, proud sponsor of the Grizz 901 podcast.
Memphis. Nothing but Memphis. Everywhere we go, it's Memphis. Memphis, Tennessee, the beautiful land in the world.
And I'm thankful for this guy who tweeted and said I don't have that fire in my eye no more. That game right there was for him. That's what I do. I prove people wrong each and every night, and that's for him right there.
Hi, this is Tom Izzo at Michigan State, and you're listening to Grizz 901.
What up, Grizz Nation, and welcome back to another episode of Grizz 901. We are presented by Zach Jaworski State Farm, where they treat you like family. I'm your host, Daniel Greer, and we have our guy with us. He is our normal co-host. He is Ryan. What's up, man?
Doing all right. If you are living around the Mid-South, or maybe this is true around most of the nation, 3 days ago you were enjoying 80-degree weather, and now it's in the 40s. Right.
It's freezing.
So, yeah, it makes no sense, and here we are. I guess winter is here.
It's supposed to be a warmer week, and then the weekend, freezing again. I looked at it, I think it was yesterday, because I was like, man, is this going to be like this the rest of the next couple of weeks? Because this is miserable.
Global warming, man.
Yeah, it is. It is freezing. But the Grizzlies, they were out in Washington playing the Wizards.
Talk about freezing.
Yeah, the game. The game was cold, like abysmal. Yeah, they took on the Wizards without Ja, without Bane. But you know what we did? We hammered the Grizz lead player watch 4-0, baby, 4-0. It was funny because I was actually at my oldest daughter's cheerleading event where they have I don't know what you call it, like pretty much you do cheer routines, and they had practiced them all year and while standing on the sidelines cheering for flag football at the ripe old age of 6 and 7. And they came out with a cheer routine, and there was judges in all the 9. It was crazy. So I was there in the middle of a bunch of other cheerleaders and cheer moms and cheer dads. And so it was something I thought I would never have to do in life. And then I became a parent, and we started having girls, and I realized that was going to be my life soon enough. But I was in the middle of that, thought there was no way, zero chance I was going to be able to put out any Grizz lead player watch stuff. And my youngest daughter was in the bleachers with me, and she goes, "Dad, I'm thirsty." And we're literally in the very middle of the bleachers, 10 people on each side of us, zero chance for us to get out. And I said, you know what? I think you do need a drink. So I told Mom, we need to get her out. I'm going to get her a drink so she can stretch her legs and get some water. And thankfully got out of there and was able to do some, we'll say some shopping around a player prop lines, and came together, me and you, a little 4-0, not bad. It was great. It was the most probably very relaxed, not much researched 4-0 that I've ever done in my life, and it was great.
Yeah,
it was great.
Yeah, that too much thought into that game would have killed us. Yeah, and so we just looked at stuff and we're like, yeah, this seems right for the amount of minutes that some guys are going to get. Like Tyus was by the skin of our teeth on his rebounds, but he played like 36 minutes. So it shouldn't have been that much of a sweat. Like he should have really had 4 or 5, but
yeah,
it is what it is. It's still cashed.
Yeah, still cash, baby. All right, well, we are recording this a day earlier because I am going down to New Orleans to watch the Grizzlies take on the Pelicans. And so I'll be on the road at 11 tomorrow, 100%. And so you're seeing this on Tuesday. We are recording this on a Monday. So this will be the first time we are not live, but we're actually going to present it live as well as we always do. We would just not be live. So if you're in the comments, in the chat, I apologize. We're not going to be able to answer your stuff today because we're actually not seeing them. But if you do comment, you do chat, I'll make sure that while driving, maybe I'll pull off for the safety of everyone. I'll pull off. Okay, pull off. And I'll respond to some of your chat questions that you might have. But this is not live, but we will be back live Thursday, 100%. And that will be with Nathan. I assume I have not talked to him, but either way, I will be here for sure. But let's get into the game a little bit. We've wasted enough time. The Grizzlies took the L, and we've talked about it a little bit already. But it was an ugly game. Like I said, I was pretty busy leading up into it. I had about an hour or so that I missed of the first half. Caught the whole entire second half, so I was able to catch up on a lot of stuff. But the Grizzlies battled, man. But it also goes to show that the Wizards are not that good, especially without Beal, even though I think they're 4-0 or no, 4-1 without Beal, I think I saw, because they lost to the Grizzlies. But yeah, Aldama, as you talked about before we even got on here recording, is he a podcast listener of the Grizz 901?
It seems like it, because after we kind of called out his energy and effort and like one rebound, he has been like game changing. Like he was really, really helpful and really good in the Timberwolves game with kind of frustrating Cat, and was good again against the Wizards game, but he's just not that kind of player that can take over, with two of your stars out. But he's had pretty good games since we've, this is like the lighter version of, your preview at the beginning of the episode with "Where's that fire, man?" So where's the fuego? I don't know what the Spanish for is. That fire? Fuego. Okay, fuego, yeah. Where's the fuego? And he seemed to have heard the episode and caught the fuego, at least for the past couple games. So you're welcome, Grizz Nation. Even though it was selfish of us because we just wanted him to win us bets. But
very much so.
I thought Santi had a good week for what he was the previous one. And to me, it was mostly like effort, right? Like he didn't look like he was in his head, where the past couple weeks he looked like he was kind of in his head a little bit. Should I do this? Should I not? Should I go for this? Should I not? He was just giving effort and it didn't matter. So something the coaching staff said to him or showed to him in film, I think really helped and pointed out for him for a quick turnaround. So he might be prone to lulls like that throughout the season. That's kind of natural for a second-year player. But it's nice to know that he will respond instead of sulk,
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, he had 15 and 7. We took the over 1.5 steals and blocks. Our guy doubled it. He had 4. He had 3 blocks and a steal. So shout out to Santi, just kind of cashing for us on his stuff. Dylan had an okay game. He went 19 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. Wasn't bad. He only took 22 shots, though. Only 22. But that's Dylan for you. 3 and 9 from deep. He's chunking, man, chunking it up. Our guy Steve-O, 12 and 10, double-double. I had some money on his double-double, so it was nice to have that. We also cashed on him. He was one of our player props. He had over 9.5 rebounds. So it's 10 rebounds cash for us. Tyus, 17.
And like 6 assists, right? 6 or 7 assists for Adams.
He did. I'm sorry. I was looking at his steals when I just crossed over. He had 6 assists. Wow.
Yeah.
6 assists. Good catch from you. 17 for Tyus. He did have 3 rebounds, which is big for us. We had him over 2.5 rebounds. So nice on that. He did come in with 3 steals. And then John Conchar, 7 points, 9 rebounds. He also had an assist and a steal. I secretly put a $10 bet on his plus 1,000 to have a double-double, 9 rebounds, 7 points. Just, one more 3, 1 more rebound. Come on. Yeah. Come on. Come through for me. Could have been a little $100. Outside of that, they went to a 9-man rotation. So David Roddy was a minus 24. Minus 24. Anything on that? I know you haven't seen a whole lot of the game yet. You're going to rewatch it today, but anything that you've seen out of David Roddy that just screams minus 24? Because Chandler -6, Laravia -9, Clark -8, Conchar -7, Tyus -4, Adams +4, Brooks +1, Aldama +3. Everybody was under single digits one way or the other. Like, they were in the single digits, and he had a -24 outside by himself just in 28 minutes, which is the most on the actual bench, but he's -24. Does that make sense to you?
I watched some of the game. I didn't really get to focus in on it, so that's why I'm going to rewatch it to kind of see stuff like that more. But he had a decent shooting game, right? Like he had in the high teens, I think, in points, and then to see like a
11.
Oh, he only had 11. Okay, for some reason I was thinking he had like 15 or something like that. But
he went 5 of 11 from shooting, 0 of 3 from deep.
Okay, so Roddy doesn't get the benefit of playing with top players, right? And especially in a lineup that doesn't have Ja or Bane in it, and then you're coming in on the bench with, Kennedy, Roddy, Jake, Brandon Clark, who Clark didn't play a lot last night, which I thought was kind of interesting. But he also didn't shoot well from the floor, shot poorly from the floor. Roddy just doesn't really get the benefit of the fact where people can kind of prop up his plus or minus. So really with Roddy, what I kind of watch for, like if he's going to be successful this season, it's going to be purely that he's shooting the ball well, right? Like he's got to be hitting 1 or 2 threes and be efficient shooting to be a positive. Like I think that's you can easily predict any plus minus for Roddy on the rest of the season based on his shooting splits. So if you told me he went 2 for 3 from 3, I'm like, okay, he was a positive player night. If he was 0 for 3, then I can say, he was probably a negative. Like I just think his plus minus right now is closely tied to just his shooting performance, which is, not untypical of a rookie, especially in bench lineups where, for full strength, he's probably not playing anyways. So I think it's helpful that he's out there more than it's like hurtful for the Grizzlies. I think it's good reps for him to see live action minutes like that. But yeah, if he's not shooting well, I think he's always going to be a negative on plus minus, even though in the little spots that I did, I thought he looked better than what his plus minus has reflected and the way he's been playing for the past couple of weeks. So I thought it was a little encouraging for him overall from what he has been, even though he's still a huge minus.
Yeah. No, in the end of the day, like I don't want to hit on that game too much because realistically, the Grizzlies are not supposed to win that game. They set their players in hopes that they would catch a win. And honestly, third game in 4 days for the Wizards. They are, I think it was a back-to-back for them as well. Yeah, third game in 4 days on a back-to-back. They were at home, obviously. You would expect probably, and the reason that the Grizzlies sat Ja and Bane is, okay, the Wizards are probably going to go ahead and set someone because even, they don't have Bane. I mean, they don't have Beal. So maybe they'll understand like, hey, they're setting Ja and they're setting Bane. Let's go ahead and set Porzingis or whoever because they don't have all their guys. So let's see if we can catch a win too and get some rest. So maybe you take a chance with that. But I think what happened is the Wizards said, no, we're going for it. We need some wins. So if we can get a win by playing our guys, we're going to do it. Is that really – are they looking for wins? Are the Wizards trying to be good?
I mean, I think their coach is looking to try to build something, right? Because, I mean, that's what, a 4-0 stretch for them? Well, so he can be something.
Well, I think it's 4-1 if you really break it down because they've won, 4 games in a row. So 4-1 realistically without Beal.
Okay. But yeah, I think he's trying to build something that's just like, hey, look, guys, we can do this, blah, blah, blah. We've beaten some good teams, but the context of all those wins are what's important, right? Like, I think one of those wins is against the Hornets. Like, the Hornets are god awful. The Grizzlies sitting 2 stars. Like, if one of Bane or Ja plays, I think they beat the Wizards by 10 plus, like easily. So I think context is important with all that, but I understand, like, you'd hate to be almost 20 games into a season or 15 games into a season, and the Grizzlies are sitting there 2 starters, you've won 3 in a row, and be like, nah, we'll rest guys too. And we might take another L too. I just think that's bad for morale. Right. So to me, it wasn't about, at least for the Grizzlies, to me, it was they're looking forward to Tuesday.
Yeah.
Or I guess when this posts today, like they want to be an all-out effort ready to go for the Pelicans, because it's going to require that kind of effort against the Pelicans. Not to say the Pelicans might sit random people too. You just never know with either teams. But I think it was more so that the Grizzlies are like, it's the Wizards, not worth trying to, maybe risk an injury to some weird flailing players like Kyle Kuzma and Anthony Gill and Denny Avdija. Like, these are guys that are like not totally in control of their bodies. So if Ja goes up for, a crazy layup and Kyle Kuzma undercuts him, like, it's not worth it. So to me, it was just kind of, we want Tuesday. Like, that's what I kind of got for it, is that we want Tuesday, which is why I think Clark's minutes were as low as they were. Is like, Stephen played his normal rotation minutes, Aldama played his normal rotations minutes. The only one that went over big time that plays is Tyus. And so if they wanted to, they probably could have pushed all their chips in and try to beat the Wizards, but I just didn't think they cared. Like, they're at 3 scheduled losses already. And I think they just really are looking forward to the Pelicans game. And that's why they set those 2, because they really want the Pelicans game.
Yeah, I agree. And in the end, Grizzlies took the loss. Don't want to spend any more time on it because I don't think it warrants it, honestly. We spent enough time on that. We're gonna hit on the game predictions on the Pelicans, since we've talked so much about it, as well as maybe the Jaren Jackson Jr. sighting. Before that, let me get out the ads out of the way, since they're the ones that pay the bills. But if you need insurance for any reason, go check out Zach Jaworski State Farm. You can call them at 901-459-4227. ZachInsuresMemphis.com, ZACH, ZachInsuresMemphis.com. If you need, whether it's automobile, boat, life, whatever insurance, go call our guys at Zach Jaworski State Farm. Let them know that the Grizz 901 team sent you. 901-459-4227. ZachInsuresMemphis.com. Also, the other thing, go get some merch. The merch is live on the store. GrindCityDesigns.com /Grizz. /Grizz 901. So we have some new stuff that's going to be coming out, but our official logo on shirts, on hats, on koozies, on hoodies, whatever it is, hoodie season. Faux show. Go get them at grindcitydesigns.com /Grizz 901. You can go check them out. We have plenty of different brands to choose from if you're looking for different threads. So I'm a thread guy. I love my thread counts. I'm probably a nerd at that. So I make sure we have some good stuff, some stuff that isn't as nice, but it's still thicker. So, might need some of that. All right. Let's get into the game predictions right now. I will be down there. I will be live in attendance unless something happens in the next 24 hours. But the Grizzlies take on the Pelicans down in New Orleans, 6:30 on TNT. It is the first game on TNT. It's going to be nice. Early game. It's going to be great. What are your predictions? Let's just go straight from the top, straight shooting predictions on the game.
My gut says to take the Pelicans because it's at home. But the fact that they sat Bane and Ja kind of makes me teeter on that because it seems like it's a circled game. And I think this could be a preview of a second round matchup in Western Conference Finals this year. I think both teams are really good. Like in my personal power rankings I shared with you, 9, 10, 11 in my power rankings right now are the Grizzlies, the Mavericks, and the Pelicans. Like with the way the Warriors started, like I know we probably said on other podcasts about the quality of divisions, but the top end of our division might be the best in basketball right now. Like just the quality of the top 3. And even the Spurs, like the Spurs are beating people regularly.
Yeah.
It's just the Rockets who really suck right now. So the Spurs might fall off, sure, but like right now there's no easy matchup besides the Rockets right now in our division. So the quality of our division is top notch to me, and this to me, this is an indicator when they sat those two against the Wizards, I was like, okay, Tuesday is for real. Because I wasn't sure the effort level, like, are they going to sleepwalk through a Wizards game, have a bad loss, and then give it all to Pelicans? And screw that. We're not even going to attempt to have that. Let's just be fully rested against the Pelicans. But the Pelicans are kind of a wild card, right? Like they seem to be about as injured as the Grizzlies are right now, and they will sit random people too. So I don't feel great about a prediction right now unless I know both teams are going to be playing pretty much everybody, right? And I think it's going to be an awesome game. I think it will be up and down. It could be even more up and down if the Pelicans sit people because their bench, the bench runs for that team. So their front 5, like their normal guys, are kind of more in the mud, not in the mud, but they're a slower pace half court team. The second unit is run and gun. Yeah. And so it's a very interesting clash of styles, I guess, because the Grizzlies are all run and gun right now. So matchup wise, I think if the Pelicans have to force the Grizzlies to be a half court team. Can't have dumb turnovers, can't be missing a lot of shots and let the Grizzlies get out. Like they have to be efficient. So you probably get a lot of JV touches, Brandon Ingram around the perimeter, Zion ISOs in the post. To me, they have to be efficient on offense for the Pelicans to kind of keep the Grizzlies at bay. And if the Pelicans are full strength, I think that's ultimately what might get the Grizzlies in the end is they just don't have enough of the half-court execution to kind of overcome. But if the Pelicans are a couple guys short, they're going to play faster, which I think plays more into the Grizzlies' hands. So if I say the Pelicans are full strength, nobody's on the injury reserve and out, or not out on the IR for the Pelicans, I would say the Pelicans win. If there's a couple guys out, then I think the Grizzlies will win. And that's truly just like it's a home team thing. Like even if the Pelicans are full strength coming to Memphis, I think the Grizzlies win at home. So I think it's just one of those things. It's hard to win away in a division rivalry with two teams that have expectations to be top 6 in the West.
Wow. There is one line out on that game already. You can find it over at DraftKings as of recording. What do you think the line is at?
I would say it's Pelicans 2.5.
Pick them, baby. Pick them.
Pick them. Woo! It's interesting. So that actually means that they think the Grizzlies are a better team because of the home court advantage bump. So if you're depending on how you value home court, NBA is, it's not like the NFL, but if it was like at a neutral site, quote unquote, the Grizzlies are probably favored by 1.5 to 2, maybe max.
Yeah.
Absolute max.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy, man. But yeah, so the Grizzlies are, it's a pick'em game, which is weird to me. And so the fact that literally the Grizzlies are pick 'em somewhere else is awesome. So what I did as of this recording, I went ahead and threw a full unit on that one because I'll be there in attendance. So why not cheer on my guys and have some fun with it? So it'll be a good time. So I will for sure be there 100%. So that's the plan at least. But I think it's I really do think that the Grizzlies can win this game. I don't see any reason that they can't. It's on TNT. You know how Ja plays, especially on TNT. But looking through these matchups, let's get the elephant out of the room real quick. Let's introduce the elephant to everyone. Jaren Jackson Jr., he is now doubtful. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, he was doubtful. So he's upgraded from out to doubtful. All right. He's not questionable, which we know the Grizzlies, if he's questionable, he's a game away. Jaren Jackson Jr. playing in New Orleans Tuesday.
I don't think so. I mean, I would much rather want to bring him against an easier opponent than a division rival, but they have surprised before with bringing guys back. I just don't really see it. Like it would surprise me if Jaren played against the Pelicans. And would honestly surprise me if he played for another week. I'm just in no hurry with him. Now I'm sure he's probably ready to come back. And sometimes it's hard to tell a player no, right? Especially one that's needed to take the burden a little bit off of our two all-star guards' shoulders. That's right. 2 all-star guards' shoulders. So I know he wants to be back, but I would not bring him back against Jonas Valanciunas and Zion and Larry Nance Jr. Like, I just wouldn't do it. Like even stupid Jackson Hayes on that team, who's not playing anymore, but that idiot could come in and take out Jaren Jackson pretty easily. Talk about people have no control over their body. So I don't want to see him. If he plays, I'd be surprised. And I would be surprised if we saw him for another week or two, really.
Yeah. All right. He's not playing, guys. Okay. Not playing against the Pelicans. Not yet. Now, we talked about this prior to coming on here, and we kind of looked at the schedule a little bit with the Grizzlies, and we saw maybe an opportunity. So what happens is you upgrade him from doubtful to questionable. I also would upgrade Ja and Bane from doubtful to questionable today as we're recording on Monday because it comes out at 1 o'clock. So then you present that as a question of, are the Grizzlies going to play Jaren? Are they not going to play Jaren? That actually makes the Pelicans have to potentially talk about him, waste some breath, like actually game plan. If he does play, what are we going to do? Because you don't game plan the same way against Jaren as you would a Santi Aldama. Let's just be honest. But that also allows you to question, are they going to have Ja? Are they going to have Bane? But you know what works in my favor, Ryan, with the questionable tag of Ja and Bane? That allows whoever might be going to the game that has thoughts, do I want to go to that game? I don't know. Is Ja playing? I don't know. Do I want to buy a ticket? I don't know. I don't think he's going to play because it says questionable and they don't know the Grizzlies. So let me go ahead and sell my tickets for cheap. Whatever the face value is, I'll sell my ticket. Daniel needs one. What's the big deal? And that's when I'm going to strike after 1 o'clock today when Ja is still questionable. And I'm hoping ticket prices are a lot lower than they have been, which is going to be nice for me because we know that he's going to play. Ja's playing. TNT, 100% against Pelicans. He's playing.
Well, yeah,
but
I don't know how much you can. I don't know how much you can get lower on Pelicans tickets, anyways. Pelicans tickets. I mean, I think they give them away at raffles on the street corner because no one goes.
Well, that was last year for sure. This year you have to have you got to buy a ticket for the raffle though. Still a raffle. You just got to buy a ticket for raffle. But we we looked at it, and Friday night home game against the Thunder might be a good chance to integrate Jaren Jackson Jr. because you have a game on the road right now against the Pelicans, a good matchup. It's on TNT. I think you have another game you want to wait on Jaren. I think you put him in against the Thunder. The Grizzlies have 2 days off from the Pelicans game until the Friday night game. So Tuesday to Friday, you have those 2 days off in the middle. I think you can integrate Jaren back a little bit towards a team like the Thunder. You get him in, whether he comes off the bench, whether he starts, who cares? He's playing 20 minutes max, maybe 15, and you call it a day. And that's it. And you can integrate Santi back in there because he's used to playing, and he'll be fine. And then maybe against the Nets, you play him again another 15 minutes. You kind of feel better about it on Sunday. Or maybe you don't, and you let him and hold him off again until Tuesday, which is against the Kings at home. So whatever they do, I don't think he plays. I'd almost guarantee he does not play against the Pelicans, but I guess you'll probably see him more than likely a Friday night game, especially sell some extra tickets. Even though SGA is going to be there and he's good, sell some extra tickets. Jaren's coming back. I think that might be the ploy.
Yeah, that would make more sense to me. That would be the earliest I could think is maybe against the Thunder. But, I mean, the most advantageous matchup for him to come back against is the Nets, right?
Yeah.
Like, they don't have a center that could affect him. So he can just kind of hang around. But yeah, I would take precaution on I would be very specific on the matchup I bring him back against.
It's not Zion.
And not have it be a physical bat. Like, I do not want Jaren coming back from a foot thing, smashing bodies with Valanciunas in the post. Like, it's just not what I'm looking for.
Yeah. I agree. That is not that's not the matchup I'm trying to get him back on.
Not interested.
No, not interested at all. All right. So any player matchups you're looking at, any game bets, anybody you're looking at in particular for this game? Because I have some things in mind that I like. And so want to give it to you first and see if there's somebody you're kind of looking at potentially.
Yeah, I'm really interested by the Santi guard Zion. I would assume that would be the matchup. And then because Zion, when they go small, it's 4 out, throw Zion the ball mid post or at the elbow and let him go to work. And it's extremely effective. But he's terrible on defense right now for whatever it is. And we've all seen the stuff, like you saw the video going around the internet past day or two, where people are like, how would you grade your defense? And he was like, how would you grade it? It's just a topic right now with the Pelicans, who have been known for their scrappy defense, right? And he does not care. Now, luckily for him, on vice versa, if he's matched up with Santi, he doesn't really have to do much on defense, which actually might be more beneficial for the Grizzlies because that means he's even less locked in than someone who's moving around and he's actually trying a little bit. But the matchups are interesting. Like, I expect Herb Jones to guard Ja. Very interested by that matchup. I'm not sure if they're at full health, right? This is the whole caveat to the entire thing. We just don't know. But CJ McCollum is not a good defender. He at least tries, though. And Brandon Ingram is average defender.
Yeah.
Like, who's guarding Bane and who's chasing him? So, like, is CJ going to guard Dylan and Brandon Ingram's going to guard Bane? I like that matchup for Bane.
Right.
And vice versa. Is CJ going to guard Bane? I like that matchup for Bane. And if it's CJ, I like Bane assists because he's definitely getting by him and getting to the lane. So I'm very intrigued by the matchups, which were the hardest thing for me. Well, not the hardest, but there was a lot of different avenues against the Timberwolves, right? Like, well, this guy could guard this guy. That would affect this. If he guards him, it affects this. So that's the biggest thing. Like, I just want to see who's guarding who. And especially for both teams for props, because Is Dylan on Brandon Ingram? I assume so. That's Bane guarding CJ, which CJ has been a career Grizzly killer and is just going to go through a lot of pick and rolls. And that's Steven Adams territory, right? Who's not really a hedge or get high big. He's a drop, just like JV is. It's interesting, right? Because CJ can just shoot right over Bane. But I also wouldn't put Ja on CJ. So is Ja going to guard
Herb
like
Jones?
my assumption, and that's my guess, because Herb doesn't really do anything except backdoor cut and slash, or he just stands and shoots a wide open three on a kick out. So my guess would be Jaws on Herb, Bane is on CJ, and Dylan is on Brandon Ingram. That's my guess.
Yeah.
Now, I wouldn't think they put Dylan on Zion and then Santi on Brandon Ingram. I would not assume that. But that's my guess for the matchups. And if it is, I've got to like CJ points and assists. Like, I just have to.
Yeah.
Because he's going to come off those screens, constant pick and rolls, and just shoot right over Bane, trying to get over the screen, right? And even if Bane goes under, he's going to pull up that three. So if CJ just has a terrible shooting night, then we'll lose. But if CJ has an average night, he's going to get a ton of opportunity to score the ball and to get assists. So those would be a couple that I would look for the Pelicans. But Bane assists I like if CJ's guarding him. It's just who's going to guard who. That's what I'm curious of.
Yeah. I agree. And that's the matchups are big, but also, what I'm looking at is that is great. And that makes all the sense in the world. I think it really comes down to who is going to abuse the drop center more. I really do. And I think it's both guys, Steven Adams, JV, they're both drop guys. And if JV's not dropping, then you can just go right past him. Like, he's not, if he comes out for a hedge, you can split. And I know Ja can split that easily, but how much are they going to drop? Like, if it was me, I'm probably going to drop all the way on Ja. And that's what I said on the No Bluffing podcast that came out Monday, that really I think this team is as good as they want to be as long as they're healthy. But it comes down to one thing when it comes down to like the crunch time games, the big games when everybody actually plays like a real legit like defensive scheme. I think it comes down to, can Ja hit some 3-pointers? Because at some point, teams have to say, you know what, if you want to shoot 15 3-pointers, buddy, go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and drop back to the free throw line, and I'm going to get my game plan in order to say, if you're going to get downhill, we're going to figure it out at some point. And don't be wrong, Ja has proven us time and time again that if you can't get back into the lane and pretty much be at the rim when he's at the rim, then you're not going to be able to stop him. Like, he's going to do a dribble past you. And if you drop too far, he's going to have that little bit of floater that he's been working on. So there's a lot to like. But if it was me, I'm taking my chances of his floater. I'm going to take my chances of actually being able to guard him at the rim pretty much, if I can get my big back far enough. And hopefully he just stops and takes 15 3-pointers. I think he took 11 last game. Whoever, I think it was Minnesota, whoever it was. I might be thinking of the game before that. But either way, I saw him took 11 once. And I was like, man, why is he taking just 11? Because he has to. Let's see, like my favorite quote or whatever phrase from Coach Jenkins, it's a tray or lay. Like, that's how he goes with his offense. He wants to get a good 3-pointer, give a good rebound, a chance right there, or you get to the front of the rim and you're giving a layup. So I love that. And I think that's what this game comes down to.
Yeah, the other thing that's I think ultimately what decides it is rebounding, right? Like, obviously, if a team just doesn't shoot well, you're going to lose. That's the nature of basketball in the NBA. But I think this is a really interesting rebounding matchup because both teams are, the Grizzlies are number one in the league for offensive rebounds, aren't they? And if I had to guess, I would say the Pelicans aren't too far behind. So the Grizzlies, we know the Grizzlies haven't been a stellar defensive rebounding team. So if JV can just get now, that's the thing. It's like Titan on Titan battle, right?
Right.
With Adams and JV, and like that is just a post battle. But the Pelicans have kind of moved away from JV. Like they have shifted from a dependence on him, and it's pretty obvious. His production and points are way down. Like he'll have one every once in a while, but it's usually because everybody's out, or
Yeah.
it's a good matchup where he's just getting fed on assists for dunks. I mean, JV is taking threes pretty consistently now. He's not taking a lot of them, but he's going to at least hoist up 2 of them up there. So it's all about kind of rebounding to me. Like this is like, when you get matchups like this, like the margins are so razor thin that it's really about who has the 2 more turnovers and who has the 5 more rebounds. Like that is essentially how you can explain playoff margin in basketball for the most part, right? Is we had 13 turnovers, they had 16, and they had 12 offensive rebound, we had 9. So I just I think it's going to be a rebounding thing, and if the Grizzlies do lose, it's because the Pelicans have like 12 to 15 offensive rebounds.
Yeah, I agree, and it's really who can enforce their will on the other team, like whose game plan works better. In all honesty, that's what it comes down to. Like, I think both teams are going to be fine. Both teams are going to be there, and they're not going to go away. I don't think this is a blowout in any way at any point. But I do think that which team can really enforce their will on the other team, and what it comes down to is that I just think that Steven Adams can be such a big asset in games like this, because I feel like he's better than JV, and that's crazy for me to say that because I loved JV when he was here, but I really do think that Steven Adams could be amazing, whenever I see his props, I'm going to look at Steven Adams props because I feel like that he's always going to be around, and so I think this could be a 12 to 15 rebound night because I think he has to, personally. And I don't even know his past matchups, so I'm going off of nothing right now. But when I start looking into it, I'm going to kind of see like how is he matched up against them. And I do think that this could be a game where maybe you ladder his rebounds and get up to like 15 and see if you can take a shot at that. But I do think it's important. Somebody I'll probably stay away from this game, Santi Aldama, because he could get in foul trouble immediately. And then you're talking about a guy like Brandon Clark guarding him. That's where you kind of have to go because you need somebody a little bit fleet of foot, somebody quicker, because you don't want to lose Dylan. You move Dylan onto a guy like Zion. I don't think that makes sense because then you're leaving Brandon Ingram wide open unless you feel comfortable sending somebody else on Brandon Ingram, then sliding Dylan over there. I don't know. That might be possible, and that might be the way they could go is throw Dylan over there. And then you rotate everybody over. You give Santi to Herb, and then you have Bane. Then you have Ja on CJ and Bane on Brandon Ingram. All of that just scares me. Okay, but in the end of the day, like CJ is going to get his shots. I think no matter who guards him, because I think he's going to run off a lot of picks. I don't know if you want Ja chasing him all night. I think that just kills his legs. So. I don't think there's a lot of good ways you can go, but I think when it comes down to it is who shoots well. If the Pelicans shoot well, the Grizzlies are going to be in trouble because they are a good enough offensive team where they can get to their shot. And if it goes in, it's going to be a long night for the Grizzlies. If the Grizzlies can, enforce their will and hit some good open threes and Ja's able to get downhill, it's going to be a long night for the Pelicans because they're not going to be able to keep up, especially if they get out and start running. And I think that's when the bench unit for the Pelicans comes into play with that. So anything else you have? We've been here for roughly 45 minutes. So we're going to get out of here. But anything else you have in the game? Anything else you want to share before this debuts?
Not anything major that we have to really go into. But you mentioning the bench unit, I think, is a major point because the Pelicans bench is ready, right? Like our bench is. it has its moments. It can be good and it can be really, really bad. The Pelicans backups are typically ready to go all the time. So that is that's big. And so those are the kind of minutes that I'll be more interested in that creates margin, where the starters have to always be constantly fighting to get back into it because their bench just ran off on us a little bit on our backup. So little matchup within the matchup that I'm curious to see.
Yeah. All right. It's going to be a good game either way. I've already said I'm going to plant my flag in the Grizzlies against the Pelicans, even though the Pelicans have had the Grizzlies number in the past. There will be some look, across some props to kind of stay tuned. When this comes out, we'll be at our normal time, 11 a.m. On Tuesday. So just make sure you kind of just check that out. If you're hearing this on the podcast network, I'm probably going to put this out a little bit early with the Grizz 901 podcast, so people have it early. But the actual video portion won't come out until our normal time at 11. So pick what you want. We're going to have both of these available for you. But just know that we will have our props coming out. I will 100% have something on the Pelicans. Last game we went 4-0 against the Grizzlies. With just all Grizzlies, that might be something we look at. Are we just really better at the Grizzlies stuff and not the opponents? I feel like we know the flaws of the Grizzlies so well, we can pick the opponents. But here lately, we've struck out on the opponent line. So
that's what I was going to say to you is like, if I had to guess, more than half of our losses are just misses on the opposing team's plays.
That's probably it. Maybe we should stick to Grizzlies, but we'll see. Maybe we go 3-1 or something like that. Maybe it's just something that we have to love. Like, I got to love a line. And maybe we'll reach out to some fellow Pelicans fans that we trust that maybe give us some insight that we might not know since they see this team all the time. So we'll see. Either way, we're going to have a good night. I promise you, we're going to be on the positive side. Aren't we always? Okay, no, we're not always. All right, so if you're listening to this, make sure you go back and check out the No Bluffing podcast. They're going to be here putting out a show, I would say almost every Monday is their plan. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays is going to be the Grizz 901. Pretty much we're going to recap what's happening, the craziness of a week within, games. Usually is so much going on. The weekly show that they do, it's going to be good for the whole week. They're going to discuss topics outside of just the game talk. And so make sure you check out them, but make sure you hang out with us as we live stream every Tuesday and Thursday. Ryan, we're going to let a little bit out of the bag here. Ryan is going to debut a new podcast. It's not new for everyone. It's been on the Leeds Podcast Network for a while. It's called the Free Basketball Podcast. But they're coming over, him and Cody are going to come over since they're both Grizzlies fans. I thought it'd be smarter to kind of intertwine them into the Grizz 901 family since we've already kicked down the door, letting No Bluffing in here. So we're going to make sure we allow them to come through as well. They're going to break down a lot about where the Grizzlies are kind of in the standings in a sense. Like if you're looking across the league, if it's important information, if somebody needs to know, it's going to be an aspect that they do and they bring on that's going to be more of the NBA side, like all of like where are the Grizzlies within the entire NBA. So anything you want to share about that podcast that's coming soon?
Yeah, of course, we have for forever been just a general NBA podcast. So we will definitely be workshopping things to, kind of have a more Grizzly slant to it. So it'll be Grizzly slanted when kind of like a general NBA world kind of landscape.
Yep.
So it won't just be 100% Grizzlies all the time. You get plenty of that on this network. So ours is kind of like a general NBA palate cleanser mixed with Grizzlies influence in it, if that's a better way to describe it. But we're working on our ideas and topics and what we're going to do because we like to do random stuff. So we're excited. Should debut next week, and the Grizz lead world gets to be introduced to Cody. So you will never after next week you'll never go back. So.
Yeah, the long pauses, the craziness and randomness that you don't get, I don't think, from anybody else that's on the Grizz 901 like network at all. Anybody
truly a wild card.
Truly a wild card. Cody's a good one, man. So I've been on that podcast for a long time with Free Basketball, and so I think it only makes sense for those two guys, and I'll probably, as I was on the No Bluffing podcast, I made a kind of a guest appearance because somebody was out. That's how it's going to be for me, and so I'll be on here because I'm doing 2 shows a week. I'm kind of just Swiss Army knife. I'll be moving around, helping out when somebody's out, doing whatever just to kind of keep the ship heading the right direction. But that's going to be cool. And the other thing we've done lately is we teamed up with the Grindhouse Grizzlies, the Twitter Spaces team. They're awesome. EJ and his team do a great job. And so we partner with them and making sure that we let people know, our fans know, if you want post-game content, we aren't able to produce that just yet. And we have already talked to EJ and his team about what the future may look like within Grizz 901. And possibly bringing that to YouTube, to video, where you could come in and everybody has a chat room and we can actually go live after, post game. So that's in the works. We just don't have the talent to do that just yet. Not that we're not good enough. We don't have the people. We need more people to be able to do that and actually have a real schedule to where after games you have this place people can come to and hit up in a show, a post game show. And so what we did is we teamed up with them. And so we're going to have as much of them on guest hosting and maybe being guest appearances on this show. But also we're going to kind of tag team a little bit of giving them a shout out each show, as well as on the shows that they do, giving us a shout out. So hopefully we can intertwine both fan bases. So if you need content through the week, we're going to be here for you. We're going to give it to you each and every week. We're going to have our 3 shows that are going to be live and going throughout the week, but also after games and maybe sometimes, the morning of games. You can go check out a Grizzlies Twitter Spaces, but go check them out and go follow them. It is at Spaces Grizzlies, at Spaces Grizzlies. Go check them out and make sure you give them a follow, as well as the Grizz 901 podcast. It's at Grizz 901 podcast. Go give it a follow as well. That's going to be where all the content from the podcast comes. So I don't have anything else. Do you have anything, Ryan?
No, I think we've covered about all of it.
That's it. Make sure you subscribe, rate, review. We're all over YouTube. We are everywhere you can find a podcast. I promise you. I even found out why in the world I could not talk into my Alexa Dot or whatever Alexa I might have. I was always trying to say, Alexa, play Grizz 901 podcast. And it would never work. And I couldn't figure out why. So finally I did. Alexa, play the Grizz 901 podcast. And it worked. So that's kind of cool. And now Alexa in the other room is just blaring. So no clue what it's playing. But yeah, just go. If you want to check it out, it's Grizz 901 podcast on Alexa. Anywhere you're going to find that. So that's all we have. The only thing left we have is to be nice and tell your friends.